Shalom, shalom. It's Brother Atazadak, hero of Israel. I want to start off by giving honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakwadash, giving double honors to the elders and apostles, Great Millstone, taught us his truth, and just doing a response video to Elder Apostle Gabars. He did a video concerning the 1,000-year, what they call these the Bible thumping Edomites. They call it the millennial reign of Christ, which in the book of Revelation speaks about a 1,000-year reign. Now again, I'm doing that response video for Elder Apostle Gabars' channel, Daily Exhortation 4. The title was "Live for 1,000 years, then die." The answer is la'ah, which means no in the Blashawan Kodash, which is the holy tongue. And also the response video I'm doing is to the recent elder apostles that came out for the street ministry, doing a response video for that. Now I'm going to post a link to that channel where that video is specifically posted. It's Apostle Street Ministry, but I believe they got a strike, or that channel has been frozen up. So I'm going to put their new channel, which is GMS Apostles Street Ministry. But let's get right into it. This is so let's get right into it. This is the so the title of this lesson is going to be the Alahayim, spiritual bodies, death being swallowed up when the elect are given the spiritual powers. So this is concerning reincarnation also. Let's get right into it. Giving all honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakwadash. Giving double honors to the elders and apostles, Great Millstone. They taught us his truth. So again, let's get the first precept. 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 22. This is 1 Corinthians 15 and 22. And it reads, "For as in Adam all die, even so in Hamashiach shall all be made alive." Because you had Adam, which we all came through him, the nations, the tribes of the earth that were created in the former days. Now we all came from Adam, the sons of Seth, which is after the flood. These are the families that survived through the lineage of Noah, then Shem through his sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth, which is the post-diluvian period. I believe that's what it's called, which is the post-flood period. It's a fancy way of saying after the flood. Now the Most High has a judgment that is that has to play out in these last prophecies that will come to pass, which is Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. He said, I believe in the book of Peter, that this judgment is reserved unto fire. Now so again, the Most High, he has a judgment reserved in these last prophecies that the holy prophets of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai had spoken, and now have been passed on unto those that are raised up in America, Babylon Great, the prophets, which are really the spirits of the former prophets. Again, We are our forefathers. Now, you can use worldly terms like reincarnation, or there's another terminology, they call it karma. But all these things are, they take these ideas from the Holy Bible, these other nations, and their practices. They are found in the Holy Bible. Why? Because these are ancient customs, ancient ways. Uh, uh, the sayings have they're of the ancients, like it says in the book of Samuel, when David cut off the skirt of Saul after he came out of the hiding place in the caves, to whom him and his men were they were hiding from Saul. King David spoke to Saul about the sayings of the ancients. Now, this is why the we know that the Bible is true, because it's a book of divination, meaning it's a divine book. Why? Because there's prophecies, dark sayings, and ancient wisdom that is hidden in this book. Hence why we're going to go over terms like reincarnation. And according to the biblical prophecy uh, concerning the spiritual bodies. And also it speaks about the angels of the Most High, the turning of the seasons, the operation of the elements, like it says in the Book of Wisdom of Solomon. Now, Solomon, he knew the operation of the elements. Ultimately, when we have the spiritual power, we will have the true understanding and the complete control over the elements, like the Edomites do today with the rechargeable batteries. Now they get the minerals and the rocks from the earth. Now these are minerals and elements that you could that hold energy. Now you can there's certain ways to place that energy in there, but with spiritual powers, you will have 100% understanding and knowledge to direct that energy in order to make it either combust or form it to how you seem fit, or whatever the case may be. Because again, we can speculate, but we prophesy in part because we know in part. But let me see if I can get that preset. This is the Book of Wisdom of Solomon, and I believe it's either 6 or 7. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, and 17. For he hath given me certain knowledge of the things that are, namely, to know how the world was made, and the operation of the elements, the beginning, ending, and the midst of the times, the alterations of the turning of the sun, and the change of seasons, the circuit of years, and the positions of stars, which is where you get astrology from, reading the skies, which is what the ancient Chaldeans did. Now, these practices are recorded in the Holy Bible, and as you know, these things originated in the East, which means East in the Hebrew is Qadam, meaning beforehand. Now we're on the nether part on the of the earth, which the West is in the Hebrew is Achar, meaning the hindermost part or hinder. But the point is that Solomon, he had this type of understanding of how the world was created, because you read the account in the book of Genesis. You had through the Most High God, through his only begotten Son, Hamashiach Yahushai, directing him through the Alahayim to do what? To empower the elements in the skies to create a greater light and a lesser light. This is how you see these stars and the planets standing on in their proper order, because Yahweh Shem Yahushai, through the Alahayim, it speaks about creating men in their own image, because everything has its order, its proper balance. Day and night, you have the angels are in order. The planets, the stars, they're in order. So the Alahayim, they created men in their image. They gave them laws, statutes, commandments, because you had an oral law that was being kept back then. And Wisdom of Solomon 7:17, namely how the world was made and the operation of the elements. So again, in that time, we will have complete control over those elements, not the way that Esau controls them, because his way and his uses and the things he does in order to control and manipulate the elements are for profit. Now, the Most High God, he created the things of the earth for men, not for profit. Things of the earth are to be used, not to be abused. Now, but the point is that Wisdom of Solomon 7:18, the beginning, ending, and the midst of the times. So you have the beginning, creation. You have the midst of the times, which is, you have the times that are split, starting in the midst of the times is the, what do you call it, the first century, which is the Christian era, which is around 33 CE. Those are the midst of the times, because well, really, it started in the Dark Ages, which I believe that is in the Salaki. Let me see if I can get that real quick. All right, Khan. So I just did a quick search, but Solomon spoke of the midst of the times. Now, that is speaking about the times when they call the so-called Dark Ages, which is the around 500 AD to about 1500 AD, when the Dark Nations ruled Europe. Those are the midst of the times. Why? Because during the time of the Renaissance, the Edomites, they came back into power, which is when they started to paint and destroy the dark images, to paint over the images of the Israelites, and they replaced them with their white Jesus, and so on and so forth. So Solomon, he saw these things, And we're in this current time, we're in the ending, because you had to have the nations being established in the beginning. You had to have the midst of the times when Yahweh Shai Mashiach had to come on the scene. You had to have the Revelation, the book of Revelations. I believe it's, let's see if I can get that precept real quick. Revelation chapter 20 and verse 1. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit. The bottomless pit is Europe, because there are no minerals in that area. It's a desolate land. Why? Because of all the bloodshed that has been placed upon it from wars and battles throughout history. So it says, in a great chain in his hand, and he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. This is during the Dark Ages, 500 AD, because the Israelites ruled Europe for 1,000 years, and the other dark nations, which is why you have some Israelites which are they still to this day call themselves Moors. But they're not all Israelites. Some of them are heathens and Arabs. But the point is, because we're mingled amongst all nations, we're dispersed amongst all nations. So it says, which is devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. That is the midst of the times. And after 1,000 years should be fulfilled, like it says in verse 3. Revelation 20 and 3. And cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that he must be loosed a little season. The little season is from the 15th century up until now. That is a little season. Why? Because this man's system is going down, because the Most High, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, is setting up the kingdom of heaven for the saints of the Most High God. But you have certain things that have to come to pass, certain of the prophecies that the prophets they saw in visions, and they spoke about them, and now they are being manifest and declared. So that is the midst of the times that Solomon spoke about. Now, that wasn't part of the lesson, but just to throw some nuggets in there. You know, you can use that. Salakia, lost my train of thought. Trying to find this, let's see, 8. Salakia, 7. So again, you know, just throwing a little nugget there. But again, all these things are cohesive. You know, these things make sense, which is why, you know, if you don't have the right understanding, like some of these other camps teaching some bugged out things, you know, you'll bug yourself out. But wisdom is Solomon 7 and 17, for he hath given me certain knowledge of the things that are, namely to know how the world was made, and the operation of the elements. So Solomon had this understanding, how the beginning of creation. He had an understanding of the creation, not just because it was passed down throughout the Hebrews and through the scribes, but also because they were spoken of by certain of the kings, like King Solomon. Verse 18, the beginning, the ending, and the midst of the times. So we're in the ending. The midst of the times was what you read about in Revelation 20 and 2. And but the point is, he had understanding of all things secret and manifest. Now we've been given certain things. Certain things have been revealed, but again, we prophesy in part, we know in part. And Book of Proverbs speaks about he who is diligent will bear rule. So if you're diligent and growing in this thing, you will have the answer to give to every man that gives you a ask you to what is your purpose. Shortly paraphrasing. To what is the hope of your mind. But let's go back to 1 Corinthians 15 and 22. So here's 1 Corinthians 15 and 22. For as in Adam all die, even so in Hamashiach shall all be made alive. Then cometh the end, when he shall have delivered up the kingdom to God, even the Father, when he shall have put down all rule and all authority and power. So we are at the time of the end of one rulership and the establishing of another. Verse 26, the last enemy that shall be destroyed is death. Now how is that going to be done? By the Israelites receiving spiritual power after they ascend into the heavens by the chariots of the Most High God, which are the so-called UFOs that you read about throughout the Holy Bible. Now, see if I can get something else right here. Verse 27, for he hath put all things under his feet. But when he saith all things are under him, it is manifest that he is expected, which did put all things under him. Because the book of Psalms 1 and 10 speaks about Hamashiach Yahushai wounding the heads of many nations. The heads are the rulers, the governments. Now, he's also going to use those to whom he gives to his elect. He's going to give them spiritual power. You read about that in book of Revelation, Jerusalem descending from the heavens as a bride adorned for her husband. The adorning are the gifts of the laws in the inward parts to be perfected as Hamashiach Yahushua was when he ascended into the heavens and was in a spiritual body. Now, it's not going to be the same because he had to be glorified during that time. It's not the same. You see, there has to be an order to things. But it says that, verse 27, he had put all things under his feet because Yahushua HaMashiach conquered death. Now, we're fighting this flesh in these mortal bodies. But when that time comes, Mashiach Yahushua, to give his elect the spiritual power, the scriptures speak about making his elect a battle axe. But the point is, let's go to, actually, let's get that real quick. Said Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 20. Jeremiah 51 and 20. Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war, for with thee will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms. So not only is Hamashiach Yahushai going to wound the head of many nations, he's going to use his elect, because as he descends, like it says in the book Isaiah 19:1, onto Babylon the Great with the chariots, he's going to deliver his elect. They're going to descend into the chariots. They're going to be changed in the blink of an eye, given spiritual power. Then, after a certain time, they're going to be brought down to subdue the nations, right along with Hamashiach Yahushai. In the midst of World War III, all these things will be happening. Jeremiah 51:20, thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. For with thee will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms. 1 Corinthians 15 and 55. O death, where is thy sting? O grave, where is thy victory? So Mashiach Yahushai, he conquered death. Now we're going to conquer death when we receive the spiritual bodies. The celestial bodies. Terrestrial are the ones that we have in this corrupt form. We are princes. We are in exile right now, which is exile is in the Hebrew galah, which means to be exiled. Now let's go to the next precept. Second Esdras chapter 3 verse 21. Second Esdras 3:21. For the first Adam, bearing a wicked heart, transgressed and was overcome, and so be all they that are born of him. So the first Adam went off. Why? Because the Most High God had certain things that he needed to come to pass. Just like in the times of Pharaoh, he hardened Pharaoh's heart. Now he hardened Adam's heart also. And he transgressed by eating the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. Why? Because the sons of God had to go through a certain trials throughout their generations. Second Esdras 3:22. The infirmity was made permanent, and the law also in the heart of the people, with the malignity of the root, so that the good departed away, and the evil abode still. So that infirmity was made permanent, which was death, pain, suffering, toil, which was passed on to all generations that followed, through Adam, through Seth, Cain, Abel. Now they didn't make it past the times of the flood, but that they had that same infirmity. The toil, with your sweat you will eat your bread. The women were given toils. So the good departed away. Why? Because you had Adam and his wife. They the good departed away, which was paradise, which was being ultimately in the Garden of Eden. Now, the Garden of Eden is Jerusalem. You know, some camps say that was in Sakari. I believe they say that was in Africa. But it was in Jerusalem because that is the center of the earth, of creation, which is why these sewer rats and these Arabs they go down there. They claim it belongs to them. But the point is that the Garden of Eden was Jerusalem, which is why the elect have to establish under Hamashiach Yahushai the new rulership, which the scriptures speak about, the law coming out of Jerusalem, which will be the Garden of Eden all over again. The earth will be returned back to its former state, which will be the healing to the nations. Now you have to have certain things that come to pass. You have to have the nations going into hardcore captivity, and the Edomites being Obadiah 1 and 18, the weapons of war being burnt up. But ultimately, this is why the atom was made to go off, because you had to have the certain of these men throughout the generations. They had to be tried, and in these days, you had to have the second Edge speaks about the grape of the cluster being kept. So the first dominion spoken of in the book of Micah, that's ultimately the Garden of Eden returning. Now Eden, Adan, just means delicacy or dainties, and that's going to return to the earth, because you read about that in the book of Revelation. 12 manner of fruits, which the tree of life, which is the law, because the law is perfect. These other nations will have to follow the law in its correct way, not according to the hypocrisies and the ways that it is established, that is attempted to be established in these days. You know, these sewer rats, you know, they claim to keep the law, but they're not giving they're not doing the land Sabbath, which is that promotes the better growing of the vegetation. You know, this is why men have to rest for a day, because their toils would be they rest so they can continue in being consistent. This is why the land Sabbath has to happen. There has to be a rest for the vegetation so it can remain consistent. You know, there are certain other things that are in the law. You know, sowing your seeds with diverse kinds, so it doesn't dilute the fullness of the seed. Now you can apply that to men also, which is why all these nations have to be separated, placed back to their own land after the 1,000-year captivity. Why? Because that's like the term says, sowing nothing but confusion and losing the fullness of your stock, like it says in the book of Sirach. So 2 Esdras 3 and 22, thus infirmity was made permanent, the law also in the heart of the people, with the malignity of the root, so that the good departed away, and the evil abode still. And you know, these nations have waxen worse and worse during time, which is why they have to be set back in order. You know, they're drunk off the philosophies of the so-called white man. You know, this is why you have nations like the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites. They were expelled from their land. Why? Because they were going off. The Wisdom of Solomon speaks about abominable works, cursed people. They were cursed. Why? Because they defiled the land. And the scriptures speak about when you defile the land, to pour blood upon it, innocent blood, that blood is going to return back to you. Now, let me see if I can get that real quick. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter Salakia. Let me see if I can get that real quick. Salakia. Let me see if I can get that real quick. Wisdom of Solomon 14 and 23. Moreover, this was not enough for them, that they erred in the knowledge of God, but whereas they lived in the great war of ignorance, and so those so great plagues called they peace. For while they slew their children in sacrifices, and used secret ceremonies, and made revelings of strange rites. Now, this is what these ancient nations were doing, and they still do today. Sacrifice to the idols, abominable works. Let's see if I can get that other precept. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 12 and verse 11. Wisdom of Solomon 12:11. For it was a cursed seed. And verse 4. Wisdom of Solomon 12 and 2. Therefore chastenest thou them by little and little that offend, and warnest them by putting them in remembrance, wherein they have offended, that leaving their wickedness they may believe on thee, O Lord. Now they were chastened little by little, as the Israelites were given the land of the Canaanites and these other sons of Ham that were in that land. Why? Because they and the scriptures speak about the Most High God sending hornets before them, and saying to the children of Israel that He would not put them out at once, lest the beasts of the field multiply against them. But Salakia. Verse 3. For it was thy will to destroy by the hands of our fathers both those old inhabitants of thy holy land. So ultimately, they were destroyed for their works. And this is the same thing happening again. Because they are doing the same thing, the same works that their fathers did for their condemnation. Wisdom of Solomon 12:4. Whom thou hatest for doing odious works of witchcrafts and wicked sacrifices. Also those merciless murderers of children, devourers of man's flesh, and the feast of blood. With their priests out of the midst of their idolatrous crew, and the parents that killed with their own hands, souls destitute of help. That the land which thou esteemest above all other might receive a worthy colony of God's children. Which is why the Israelites have to be given that first dominion. And it speaks about the tower of the flock, which is the elect. Why? Because these nations have to be taught all over again the right way. And they're gonna have to. With that, they're not gonna have a choice. They're gonna have to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. Leave off those filthy works, their filthy customs, and submit onto Yasharallah. Now, Wisdom of Solomon 12:11. For it was a cursed seed from the beginning. Neither didst thou for fear of any man give them pardon for those things wherein they sin. And you read about that in Genesis 9:25. Let's get that real quick. Genesis 9:25. And he said, Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren. Because ultimately in the kingdom of heaven, these Canaanites are going to serve the Israelites along with all the other nations. And the scriptures speak about the let's get that precept in the book of Revelation. Revelation chapter 22 and in verse 2. In the midst of the street of it, and of the either side of the river, was there the tree of life, which bare 12 manner of fruits, and yielded her fruit every month. And the leaves of the tree were for the healings of the nations. Why? Because Yahweh Shem Yahushua is going to raise up his elect, give them spiritual power to go around, burn the weapons of war, subdue these other nations, those that remain from World War III, put them into captivity, and then afterwards, after 1,000 years, place them back in their own land. Now that's an actual 1,000 years, but you have other camps saying that after 1,000 years, the Israelites they're gonna die, which is one of the main contentions that these other camps are saying. You know, but how are the elect going to burn weapons of war, do all these things that you read about in the scriptures, and they're not going to die, but then after 1,000 years they're going to die? That doesn't make sense. But let's go back to 2nd Esdras 3:21. Or actually, we'll move on just for time's sake. 2nd Esdras chapter 3 verse 21. Verse 22, thus infirmity was made permanent, and the law also in the heart of the people, with the malignity of the root, so that the good departed away, and the evil abode still. Now, we understand that the law, statutes, and commandments were given to the Israelites for us to keep. We're supposed to judge them. We're supposed to judge ourselves in it, which is why we make the videos to call out these other camps when they're going off. Now, this isn't for the other nations right now. You got certain heathens. Like it's good to come up to the camps, and if you actually want to learn. But some of these heathens, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. One, they don't keep the law. They don't even try to keep the law. So this has nothing to do with them. They're supposed to be learning from us. But the point is that although the law is given to us, and we're supposed to judge our people, which is edifying and rebuking those camps that are going off, calling them out, correcting our people. There are laws that are universal laws, like sacrificing children. There's laws on eating blood, which these other nations do. There's laws like homosexuality, fornicating with animals. All these things, these are universal laws. These are why these other nations were kicked out of the Holy Land, given unto the Israelites. These the sons of Ham, these certain tribes. But the point is that there has to be an order set back on the earth, which will be done through the elect. Now, 2nd Esdras, chapter 5 and 51. And he answered me and said, Ask a woman that beareth children, and she shall tell thee. Say unto her, Wherefore are not they whom thou hast not brought forth? Thou hast now brought forth like those that were before, but of less stature. So throughout time, the nations have waxed worse and worse in their physical appearance, which which is why the Israelites were established last, because they were called lively people, because we were established last. We're a young nation, and it was established for this very same purpose, which is why they had to be placed in exile many times. Why? Because they were made to go off just like Adam. Why? Because the latter end would be that they would be given the first dominion, which is the kingdom of heaven. But the point is that all these nations wax worse and worse, not just physically and but spiritually. Even the sons of Adam, you read about that in the book of Genesis. So these other nations wax worse and worse. The creation is waxed worse and worse. 2nd Esdras chapter 5 and 52. Say unto her, Wherefore are not they whom thou hast brought forth like those that were before, but of less stature? Because men lived longer back then. They were more vigorous. Because there was less pollution. This goddamn devil pollutes the air, the plants, breaks the Sabbath, the land Sabbath. All kinds of laws, removing landmarks. Verse 53, and she shall answer thee, They that be born in the strength of youth are of one fashion, and they that are born in the time of age, when the womb faileth, are otherwise. Because these other nations were in their strength of their youth, back in their prime, but now they're waxing worse and worse through age, just like the Israelites are waxing worse and worse through age. Now this is why Yahweh Bashem Yahushai spoke about the days being cut short for the elect's sake, and the scriptures also speak about that. See if I can get that real quick. I believe it's in the book of Romans. Romans chapter 8 and 22. For we know that the whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain together until now. Why? Because of the pollution, because of the defilement that the land, the earth as a whole has been defiled with blood. Why? Because the sons of man have grown worse and worse, which is why, you 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 die at a younger age, you don't live as long, people aren't as healthy as they were back then. The the medicine is not really, the plants are the medicine of the earth. They're not as potent. They're uh they're defiled. The soil is defiled. The air is defiled. The animals, they're sick of this goddamn devil. The whole creation is groaning even until now. And see if I can get that in the book of Matthew. Matthew chapter 22. I believe it's 22. Just like it. Matthew 24 and 22. And except those days should be shortened, there shall no flesh be saved. So no flesh would be saved unless the days would be shortened. The days have to be shortened, because this man he's getting worse and worse. These Edomites, they're bugging out. They know they have a short time. They're trying to hold on to their power, but it's impossible. Why? Because the Most High God has cursed them. Their womb has cursed their work of their hands, their counsel. He's made void their counsel, which in the Hebrew that's parar, to make void. And the book of Job speaks about you cannot void the Most High God's counsel. This is what these goddamn devils try to do. Job chapter 40 and verse 8. Will thou also disannul my judgment? Will thou condemn me that thou mayest be righteous? So these goddamn devils are trying to disannul the payback that's coming to them. But it's not going to happen. You see, these things will come to pass. Second Esdras 5 and 51. Second Esdras 5 and we'll continue in 53. And she shall answer thee, they that be born in the strength of youth are of one fashion. These other nations are of one fashion. And they that are born in time of age, when the womb faileth, are otherwise. Because the Israelites were born in a time of age, which was the one of the last nations to be established, which is a time of age, or the coming of age. I believe there's a terminology that speaks of coming of age. Salaki, I didn't put this as part of the lesson, but coming of age, it says the attainment of prominence, respectability, recognition, maturity. Why? Because ultimately the nation of Israel will have that prominence in the kingdom, will be respected, recognized in the time of their coming of age, the maturity, which is see if I can get this right here. Coming of age is a young person's transition from being a child to an adult. Continues through adolescence. The specific age when this transition takes place varies between societies. It can be a simple legal convention, or it can be part of a ritual, spiritual event, because there's going to be an event that will happen, the deliverance of the elect, the destruction. These things are all spiritual. and they will happen for the coming of age of the saints of the Most High God. See, it says in others, it is associated with an age of religious responsibility, because ultimately this goes back to the oath that the Most High God, he swore by himself to our father Abraham. He says, in thee will the nations be blessed, and your seed will the nations be blessed, which will happen in the kingdom of heaven. You know, after the thousand-year hardcore slavery for these heathens, and of course, you know, they're not even that important. But the point is, this is a religious responsibility, mainly to the elect, the cluster of the grapes, the flock of the tower. You read about in the book of Malachi, Most High gathering up his jewels to spare him as a young son that serveth him. Which is why you read about in the book of Revelation, the bride being adorned with being adorned as a bride, because a bride gets when she gets married, she gets the jewels, she gets the goodly things, which is according to the law, when a Hebrew man serves you, or a Hebrewess serves you for 6 years, you let them be free, you release them on the 7th year, and you furbish them, which that in the Hebrew, you furbish them what they need, which in the Hebrew is anak. I believe so. Let me double check. I got it right here, actually, in my interlinear Bible, Hebrew, Greek, and English. So it says, Anakwa, which is literally means to put a necklace on someone, which it could be an expensive necklace, you know, it could be something worth millions and millions in this society, but you know, that is ultimately what the Most High God will do to his elect, which is why in the book of Revelation, spoken as a bride descending from heaven, adorned as a bride, because the bride gets the goodly jewels, which is a representation of the elect descending and being prepared to take dominion over the earth. Now, Salaki. Second Esdras chapter 5 and 54. Consider thou therefore how that you are less statured than those that are before you, which is why the children of Israel are more lively, because these other nations, these are ancient nations. You know, you could tell the scriptures speak about that, how the Most High God separated the Egyptian and the Israelite. It's a clear difference. Now, some of our people look like the other nations, Edomites, Hamites, Arabs, but even through the spirit, you could see that the spirit is different, which is we don't judge. This isn't about color. This is about the spirit. But the point is, let's see if I can get that real quick. I believe it's in Exodus 20. Exodus. It's book of Exodus, chapter 11, verse 7. Exodus 11:7. But against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast, that he may know that Yahweh Shem Yahushai doth put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. So even back then, you got to keep in mind these nations go all the way back to the post-diluvian era, meaning they existed way back then. So in time of age, the physical appearance and also the vigor of these nations get weaker and weaker throughout time, which is why the Israelites are more lively, because you have to go all the way down the lineage through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So the Most High God, he put a difference between us and the other nations, which you read about that in the second Esdras 5 and 40. Salakia, what is it? Second Esdras 5:51. 53. So you have those born in the strength of youth and those born in the time of age, which are the Israelites. Second Esdras 5:55. So are they that come after you less than ye, as the creatures which now begin to be old have passed over the strength of youth. Then said I, Lord, I beseech thee, if I have found favor in thy sight. So that was it, verse 55. So since Adam, the creatures passed down the strength of youth, which is why in the accounts you see the sons of Adam through the lineage of Seth, they live less time and less time. They died at a younger age, and back then they lived longer. They had more strength, the vigor. It's Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 20. Ecclesiastes 3 and 20. All go unto one place, all are of the dust, and all turn to the dust again. Now, what I meant to get was Ecclesiastes 1 and 9. Ecclesiastes 1 and 9, the thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. So there's no new thing under the sun. The works of men, but mainly this is talking about man itself. Ecclesiastes 4:16. There is no end of all the people, even of all that have been before them. They also that come after shall not rejoice in him. So there's no end of the people. Those people back then, starting from Noah, Shem, and Ham, and Japheth, are here today, and the strength of youth has been diminished. Ecclesiastes chapter 6 and verse 10. That which hath been is named already, and it is known that it is man. You can line that up with Ecclesiastes 1 and 9. Neither may he contend with him that is mightier than he. So that which has been before is man, and there's nothing new under the sun, which is why we have the understanding on certain of these nations. Now we have been given the identity of how all these nations look like, who they are, but to the spirit, you can see the difference between the nations and the people of those, the ancient people. This is so I got that already. Psalms 104 verse 29. Actually, let's get Ecclesiastes 3 and 20. All go to one place, all are of the dust, all turn to the dust of man. So all spirits go back unto the Father. The bodies go back to the dust. Who knoweth the spirit of man that goeth upward, the spirit of the beast that goeth downward to the earth? Wherefore I perceive that there is nothing better. Well, actually, that was it, verse 21. The spirit of man goes upward, and the spirit of the beast goes downward to the earth. Now the beasts are created innumerable, but the spirit of man is a different spirit, which is why the Apostle Paul says, not all flesh is the same flesh. There's flesh of animals, and the flesh of men. Spirit of animals, spirit of men. Which you got these bugged out Elamites, these so-called East Indians, worshiping cows, which is nothing new under the sun. That's what the ancient Egyptians were doing. And you read about that in the Book of Wisdom of Solomon, which is see if I can get that right quick. Wisdom of Solomon, I believe it's in the latter chapters. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 12, and Wisdom of Solomon 12 and 24. For they went astray very far in the ways of error, and held them for gods, which even among the beasts of their enemies were despised. being deceived as children of no understanding. Which is actually here it is. That's the one I was looking for. Wisdom of Solomon 15 and 18. Wisdom of Solomon 15 and 18. Yeah, they worship those beasts also that are most hateful, for being compared together, some are worse than others. So they worship beasts. That's what the Egyptians did. And you read about that in the book of Exodus. Which was an Egyptian custom. And this is Psalms 104 and 29. Psalms 104, verse 29. Thou hidest thy face, they are troubled. Thou takest away their breath, they die, and return to their dust. Both, so this is talking about man and beast. Thou sendest forth their spirit, they are created, and thou renewest the face of the earth. This is talking about the beast of the field, which is you read about that in Psalms 104 and verse 25. Start at verse 25. So this great is wide sea, so is this great and wide sea, wherein are things creeping innumerable, both small and great beasts. So all things that are in the waters, small and great. And so it says, thou sendest forth thy spirit, they are created, thou renewest the face of the earth. So that's talking about the beast of the field, of the waters. And he just renews the spirits back on the earth, because it's a different kind of spirit. It's just aside from the spirit of man is given a different cognition to understand the speech, the senses, wisdom. Wisdom of Solomon 9 and 7. Actually, just so the video isn't too long. Actually, I'll get that anyways. Wisdom of Solomon 9 and 7. Thou hast chosen me to be a king of thy people. And Slakia. So that was it. Wisdom of Solomon 9:17. And thy counsel who has known, except thou give wisdom and send thy Holy Spirit from above. And the scriptures speak about seeking the wisdom of the ancients and understanding a parable. This is Psalms 122 and verse 4. Psalms chapter 122 and verse 4. Whither the tribes go up, the tribes of Yahweh, unto the testimony of Yasharallah, to give thanks unto the name of the Lord, for there are set thrones of judgment, the thrones of the house of David. So that is the elect, the house of David. And this is that house that he's going to raise up and change in the blink of an eye. Job 14 and 2. This is the book of Job 14 and 2. He cometh, verse 1. Man that is born of a woman is a few days and full of trouble. He cometh forth like a flower and is cut down. He fleeth also as a shadow and continueth not. So man is compared unto a plant, which is when reading the law, you have to be spiritual. Certain things is talking about, like it says, not to sow your field with diverse seeds. You could apply that to actual planting seeds in the farm, but that also applies to man. So this is Job 14 and 14 and 6. Turn from him that he may rest, till he should accomplish as an hireling his day, meaning the end of one's life. For there is hope of a tree, if it be cut down, that it will sprout again, and that the tender branch thereof will not cease. Now the tree is the patrimony, which is the lineage of the father. If it be cut down, that it will sprout again. Why? Because the Most High God puts the same spirits back in the same generation of that lineage, that the tender branch thereof will not cease. And the branch is an offshoot of that lineage, which is why you have the tribes, the 12 tribes. That is a branch of Jacob, each individual tribe. Jacob is the root of that family. Well, the root is actually really Abraham, because that's to whom the lineage was brought through. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. These are the things that hold the tree together. And the branches, you have the stump and the main part of the tree. You have the branches, which are the offshoots. Though the root wax old in the earth, and the stock thereof die in the ground, yet through the scent of water it will bud and bring forth fruit, boughs like a plant. Because ultimately, Most High God is gonna water his plant, which is the elect. Job 14 and 10. But man dieth and wasteth away. Man giveth up the ghost, and where is he? The answer is in the heavens. Verse 12. So man lieth down and riseth not, till the heavens be no more. They shall not awake, nor be raised out of their sleep. Verse 13. O thou, that thou wouldest hide me in the grave, which is wall, which that means the grave, the pit. That also means a pit, like in a valley. And you read about hell in the scriptures. That's talking about death. Job 14 and 13, that thou wouldest keep me secret until thy wrath be past, that thou wouldest appoint me a set time and remember me. Because again, like it says in the book of Ecclesiastes, all that come from the dust return to the dust, the earth. The appointed time is when the spirit returns back in the third and fourth generation. In the same in the same lineage. Job 14 and 14. If a man die, shall he live again? All the days of my appointed time will I wait till my change come. Thou shalt call, and I will answer thee. Thou wilt have a desire to the work of thy hands. Regeneration. This is the Deuteronomy chapter, and you read about that in the law, men being compared, and in the New Testament, unto trees. I believe it's 22. 20. Deuteronomy 20 had actually written down different precepts, but I'll go with this one. Deuteronomy 20 and 14. Salakia. 19. Deuteronomy 20 and 19. When thou shalt besiege a city a long time, making war against it to take it, thou shalt not destroy the trees thereof by forcing an axe against them, for thou mayest eat of them. Thou shalt not cut them down. And there's an account of, I believe, Nebuchadnezzar taking the princes out of Judah and carrying them off away into captivity, believing the poor of the land to till the ground. For thou mayest eat of them. So they left the poor in the land to grow vegetation on it. Thou shalt not cut them down, for the tree of the field is man's life, to employ them in the siege. Because when you seize seize a nation, you have to set up a tributary, so you can profit off of the work of men's hands. Deuteronomy 20 and 20. Only the trees which thou knowest that they be not trees for meat, thou shalt destroy and cut them down. And thou shalt build bulwarks against the city that maketh war with thee until it be subdued. Which is why Nebuchadnezzar carried the princes and the nobles into his land, into Babylon, because he knew that they were not trees for meat. So he had to destroy them, cut them down, subjugate them, because these were the nobles, the princes, the kings. This is Book of Job. Salakia. Make sure I got that. Job chapter 33, verse 30. Job 33 and 30. To bring back his soul from the pit, to be enlightened with the light of the living. The soul is the spirit. The pit is death, to return back unto the living. Mark 8:24. Mark chapter 8:24. And he looked up and said, I see men as trees walking. Verse 25. After he put his hands again upon his eyes, made him look up, and he was restored, and saw every man clearly. Which you read about that, and what is it? Salakia, Sirach 39:1. Well, let me get Sirach 14:22, because the scriptures speak about tracing the ways of wisdom, tracing her ways. Sirach 14:22. Go after her as one that traceth, and lie in wait in her ways. This is how you seek wisdom. This is how you gain understanding, knowledge of dark parables and sayings. This is Sirach 39:1. Sirach 39:1. But he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High, and is occupied in the meditation thereof, will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient. That word for ancient, in the Hebrew is Qadam, beforehand, and be occupied in prophecies. And this is the major part of this thing, is prophecy. Verse 2, he will keep the sayings of the renowned men. Why? Because the scriptures are written as a code, which is why Wisdom of Solomon spoke about the creation, the dividing of times, the beginning, the midst, and the beginning, the ending, and the midst of the times. Because this was hidden doctrine that was written down, which is why you read about men spoken of as trees. The law speaks about not mixing your seed with diverse kinds. These are subtle parables, dark sayings. Sirach 39:2, he will keep the sayings of the renowned men, and where subtle parables are, he will be there also. He will seek out the secrets of grave sentences, and be conversant in dark parables. So all these things, it speaks about men reincarnating back on the earth. The scriptures speak about spiritual bodies, the angels, the Alahayim. Let's go to Job chapter 19 and verse 25. For I know that my Redeemer liveth, and that ye shall stand at the latter day upon the earth. And though after my skin worms should destroy this body, yet in my flesh shall I see God, whom I shall see for myself, and my eyes shall behold, and not another, though my reins be consumed within me. It's talking about regeneration. Standing his Redeemer, which is Yahweh Shai, standing in the latter day upon the earth, in the kingdom of heaven. This is Malachi 3 and 17. Malachi 3 and 17. And they shall be mine, saith the Lord of hosts. In that day, when I make up my jewels, I will spare them, as a man spareth his own son that serveth him. Which is why you read about in the book of Revelation, New Jerusalem ascending from heaven as a bride adorned for her husband. These are the jewels. These are the elect. What do you adorn a bride with? Jewels. Revelation 21 and 2. And I John saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. Habakkuk chapter 3 and verse 2. O Lord, I have heard thy speech, and was afraid. O Lord, revive thy work in the midst of the years. In the midst of the years, make known. In wrath, remember mercy. So this is the prophet Habakkuk. This was a prayer. He was speaking about the Most High reviving his works upon the earth. And you read in verse 16, when I heard, my belly trembled, my lips quivered at the voice. Rottenness entered into my bones, and I trembled in myself, that I might rest in the day of trouble. When he cometh up into the people, he will invade them with his troops. Shiz Yahushai and the chariots, coming upon America Babylon the Great, to throw it down, turn it into a desert. In the day of trouble, he says that I might rest in the day of trouble, which is Jacob's trouble. These are subtle parables. These are dark sayings. The discourse of the ancients. This is Revelation chapter 10 and verse 1. Or 11, Slakia. And he said unto me, thou must prophesy again before many peoples, and nations, and tongues, and kings. So the angel that spoke to John the Revelator, he told him that he would be back prophesying again to many nations, peoples, kings, many tongues. And you read about that in book of Isaiah 28 and 10 and on down. This is Daniel 12 and 13. Daniel chapter 12, 13. But go thou thy way till the end be, for thou shalt rest and stand in the lot at the end of days. The lot is your predestinated lot, the predestinated place that you would be, the situation that you would be in at the end of days. In the book of Second Ezra, Prophet Ezra said he spoke about being delivered in the he would deliver me in that day. Let's see if I can get that real quick. Slack, yeah, let me see if I can get that. second address, what is it, 16, and second address 16 and 17. Woe is me, woe is me, who would deliver me in those days? We're approaching those days, like it says in verse 18. The beginning of sorrows, great mournings, famine, great death, beginning of wars. Power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? Behold, famine, plague, tribulation, anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. But for all these things they will not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. Read about that in the book of Revelation. See if I can get that real quick. Revelation chapter 9, verse 20. Revelation 9 and 20. So you can precept this with 2 Ezra 16 and 20. Revelation chapter 9, verse 20. And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, yet repented not of the work of their hands, that they should not worship devils and idols of gold and silver and brass and stone and of wood, which can neither see nor hear nor walk. Neither repented they of their murderers or their sorceries, nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts. So, 2/3 of our people, these other nations, and especially the so-called white man, the devil that the Bible speaks of, the Edomites. Because these devils are proud, even as their system is going down. They're getting prouder and prouder. And see if I can get the next precept. This is Ezekiel 36 and 25. Look at Ezekiel 36 and 25. Then will I sprinkle clean water upon you, and you shall be clean. From all your filthiness, from all your idols, will I cleanse you. And it's starting with the washing of the water of the word, to be renewed in the spirit of your mind. Verse 26, a new heart also will I give you, and a new spirit will I put within you. I will take away the stony heart out of your flesh, and I will give you an heart of flesh. The stony heart is this mortal body. The heart of flesh is the renewing, to be renewed with what? Spiritual power. Verse 27, and I will put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes, and you shall keep my judgments and do them in the kingdom. Hosea 13 and 14. This is why you read about death being swallowed up in the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 15. Hosea chapter 13 and verse 14. I will ransom them from the power of the grave. I will redeem them from death. So Yahweh Shem Yahushai is going to ransom those that died in this truth from the grave, will be caught up. Those that are in the graves will be caught up, their bodies, that is, because the spirit is already with the Father. But they will be caught up from the earth. The scriptures speak about those that are speaking in, that sleep in the dust will be caught up into the chariots, be changed in the blink of an eye. Read about that in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. And I believe that's verse 16. Let's see if we can get that real quick. 1 Thessalonians 4 and 1 Thessalonians 4 and 16. For the Lord will descend. 1 Thessalonians 4 and 16. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of God, and the dead in Mashiach shall rise first. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. Wherefore comfort one another with these words. Hebrews chapter 8 and verse 8. This is Hebrews 8 and 8. For finding fault with them, he saith, Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continue not in my covenant, and I regarding them not, saith the Lord. Hebrews 8 and 10. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people. Verse 11. They shall not teach every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord, for all shall know me, from the least unto the greatest. So Yahweh Shem Yahushai putting the laws is going to put the laws into the mind of the elect, write them in their hearts, give them that spiritual download. We're still teaching each one our own people, which is your neighbor, to know Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Why? Because we're reconciling the elect unto the Most High through this word, from the least unto the greatest, which is why the scriptures speak about this gospel being preached throughout the whole world. And then the end will come. Jeremiah 31 and 31. Behold, the days come, saith Yahweh Shem Yahushai, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was an husband unto them, saith Yahweh Shem Yahushai. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. After those days, saith the Lord, I will put my law in their inward parts, which is that spiritual download, and write it in their minds, which is write it in their hearts, which your heart is your mind. Because all will be righteous. of the nation of Israel, starting with the elect. And the 2/3 will come out of the loins of the elect in the kingdom. And I will be their God, and they shall be my people. Psalms chapter 1 and 4, and verse 4. Psalms 104 and 4. Who maketh his angels spirits, his ministers a flaming fire. So the angels, the Elohim, they're spirits. They're ministers of fire, pure energy. This is how that change is going to come. Pure energy. Spiritual power. Tobit chapter 12 and verse 15. Now again, we prophesy in part, we know in part. Is it going to be like the actual angels? Will we have a different form? Will we be able to take different forms? Only time will tell. Tobit 12 and 15. I am Raphael, one of the 7 holy angels, which present the prayers of the saints, which go in and out before the glory of the Holy One. Verse 19. All these days that I appear unto you, but I did neither eat nor drink, for you did see a vision. So the angels can take the form of a man. They can make you have visions that you sat and ate with them. So again, we prophesy in part, we know in part. Now we've been given a description on these various accounts, but we can tell you in part. We'll see when that day comes. Isaiah 65 and 20. This is the book of Isaiah 65 and 20. There shall be no more thence an infant of days, nor an old man that had not filled his days. For the child shall die 100 years old, but the sinner being 100 years old shall be accursed. So the children are going to live for a very long time in that form. Scriptures speak about a day with Yahweh Shem Yahushua being as 1,000 years. So only time will tell. But the sinner being 100 years old shall be accursed. Why? Because these other heathens, they're not going to have the same inheritance that the Israelites have. They're not going to be given spiritual power. They're going to still be in the flesh, meaning they'll still have to fight all kind of personal demons, vexation, which is why they're going to need to be taught the law to keep the law, because the law is going to be their guide. The law is going to establish order within their borders. And the judges, which will be the elect, will establish and keep that order by force. Isaiah 60 and 21. Thy people also shall be all righteous. They shall inherit the land forever. The branch of my planting, the work of my hands, that I may be glorified. A little one shall become 1,000, a small one a strong nation. I, the Lord, will hasten it in His time. And the scriptures speak about the Father having many mansions. You know, that speaks about these different planets and in the deep space that you can inhabit. So even though your argument may be that the earth will be filled up completely, first off, that it takes a lot more people than Esau says to fill up the earth. Because there are places on the earth where there isn't even the animal to human ratio is not even the same. And it says here, a small one shall become a strong nation. Let me see if I can get that preset on I believe it's in the book of Luke. This is the book of Luke, chapter Luke 14. Luke 14 and 2. This is the book of Luke, chapter 14 and verse 2. And behold, or Salakia. John 14 and 2. This is the book of John 14 and 2. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would not have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there you may be also. So who knows? We might get caught up in the chariots, taken to the place that was prepared, somewhere in deep space. Again, we prophesy in part, we know in part. And then come back down on the earth, be in that hyperbolic time chamber like in Dragon Ball Z. You never know. But the scriptures say that he has many mansions. Now, what do you compare that to? A planet. Where is this? Where is the Father's house? In the third heavens. Has Esau been all up there? No. He's barely cracked the firmament. Which is why he's polluting the air in order to get some kind of breach within the firmament, or attempt to breach the firmament. This is Isaiah chapter 60 and verse 8. Isaiah 60 and 8. Who are those that fly as a cloud and as the doves to their windows? It's talking about the chariots. Isaiah 54 and 17. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and the righteousness is of me, saith the Lord. So no weapon will prosper in that time that is formed against the elect. Why? Because they're going to have spiritual power. Make sure I get this preset. Isaiah chapter 49, verse 20. The children which thou shalt have after thou hast lost the other shall say again in thine ears, this place is too strait for me. Give place to me that I may dwell. Now you could possibly use that for the mansions in space. But this is actually talking about the 2/3 that will be reborn in the loins of the elect in the kingdom. Verse 21, then shalt thou say in thy heart, who has begotten me these? Seeing I have lost my children, and am desolate, a captive, removing to and fro. Who had brought up these? Behold, I was left alone, and these, where had they been? because the 2/3 are going to be destroyed on this side. So Ezekiel, Micah chapter 4 and verse 5. Micah 4 and 5. For all people will walk every one in the name of his God. We will walk in the name of our Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai forever and ever. So these other nations, they're going to still go off here and there. I mean, they're going to be subdued, but they're going to be in the flesh. They're going to be fighting fleshly lusts. They're going to, which is why you're going to have the elect going around beating them in the head, you know, according to the law, doing the right judgment. But the Israelites, they're going to have, they're going to be perfect. Micah 4 and 13. Arise and thresh, O daughter of Zion, for I will make thine horn iron, I will make thy hooves brass, and thou shalt beat in pieces many people. And I will consecrate their gain unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, and their substance unto the Lord of the whole earth. Ba'ashem Mashiach Yahushai. Ezekiel 39 and 6. I will send a fire on Magog, and among them that dwell carelessly in the isles, and they shall know that I am Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Those in the isles is talking about these other nations during World War III. Ezekiel 39 and 9. And they that dwell in the cities of Israel shall go forth and shall set on fire and burn the weapons, both the shields and the bucklers, and the bows, and the arrows, and the handstaves, and the spears, and they shall burn them with fire 7 years. And there's going to be many slain in that time. This thing is serious. You know, 2/3 of our people, they think this is a joke. But the scriptures speak about the wise will understand, the wicked will not understand. And the book of Revelation speaks about who that is unjust, let him be unjust still. He that is holy, let him be holy still. And behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with them. My reward is me to give to every man according to his works. Verse 17. And thou, son of man, thus saith the Lord God, speak unto every feathered fowl, to every beast of the field, assemble yourselves, and come, gather yourselves on every side to my sacrifice, that I do sacrifice for you, even a great sacrifice upon the mountains of Israel, that you may eat flesh and drink blood. You shall eat the flesh of the mighty, drink the blood of the princes of the earth, of rams, of lambs, of goats, of bullocks, all of them fatlings of Bashan. And you shall eat fat till you be full, and drink blood till you be drunken, of my sacrifice which I have sacrificed for you. And you read about that in the book of Revelation, which I'm going to end with that precept. And Lord willing, you were edified, giving honor and glory unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakodash, giving double honors to the elders and apostles, great most stone, taught us his truth. Say Kwame Ashra'Allah, Baba Ball, Shalawam. And let me end with the last precept. And see if I can get that real quick. Slovakia. I believe it's in the last chapter, but I forgot. Revelation 19 and 18. That's right. But 118. I mean Revelation 19 and 18. It's like it. That you may eat the flesh of kings, and the flesh of captains, and the flesh of mighty men. And Salakia, start at verse 17. And I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great God, that you may meet, Salakia, that you may eat the flesh of kings, and the flesh of captains, the flesh of mighty men, the flesh of horses, and of them that sit on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, both small and great. And that's talking about Armageddon, the end of World War III, war to end all wars, by Hashem Mashiach Yahushai. So with that, say Kwame Ashrala Shalom, Bad Babal Shalom.